She has been invited to several international conferences to speak and lecture. She is an intelligent teacher, author, and she is a mentor to the younger generation. Please subscribe to YYCI TV on YouTube to watch her amazing videos. You will be glad you did.
This is just to let you know that there's nothing too difficult for you to do.
If we can change, then everything around us will change.
Without wisdom, you can't really create wealth. We're in the world of creativity. So, welcome to Y.Y.C.I International, United Kingdom, a home of discovery, development, and demonstration, a home of love, relationship, and family, a place of mastering mindset for transformation and building deeper relationship. YYCI Blueprint is time, because it's time for everything. And now it's time for youth leaders, and youth and young families to be transformed, to be trained, inspired, impart, mentoring, and also motivating them to do something great for their lives and for the future, and empowering and educating them. Y.Y.C.I International's mission is to engage the youth mind positively and take positive action to help them to focus and not to be distracted, and to get better and better, and let them know they have everything in them to be successful and fulfilling their purpose. And once they believe in themselves and follows all their development, they can also help others to get better. And that is why we are established. We arrange master classes like this one we are doing today, workshops, conferences, and seminars monthly. Our youth need us as a leader. Our youth need us to guide them, to lead them, to mentor them, to save them from destructions, misguided, and confusion. Our youth need us to listen to them and give them opportunities, platforms to express themselves, their concerns, their ideas, missions, dreams, aspirations, and vision, to network both locally, nationally, and globally, and to empower them to do something great for their lives and future, to reposition themselves, knowing who they are and their why and purpose. Our youth need mentors, coaches, advisors, guidance. They need us to lead the way and lay example for them to follow. So these are all our activities that we do with them. And also, we have so many books we've written. Some of them, some of our youth have written together, some of our youth, and some of them, they've done it individually, including my own that I've collaborated with other authors. So now, without wasting any time, I would like to welcome every one of you on this platform. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for willingness to want to learn, because mindset is everything. And for you to improve your mindset, to increase and to renew your mindset, you need to continue to learn. Mindset has two ways. We have the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. If you have the growth mindset, that is why you are here on this platform, because you want to add more valuable knowledge, wisdom to your mindset. So you are all welcome. We've set up 2 days for this masterclass, today and Monday, which is today is 2nd, Monday is the 5th of June. So join us as we continue to learn together, share together, grow together, and impart into other people's life. So allow me to welcome our first great speaker. It's a great leader in the society. Honorable Ross Keith Swan from Singapore is the leadership consultant, coach, trainer, speaker, podcaster, CEO of Soul Inspired Leadership Pte. Limited. But then we have more. to tell you about this wonderful, great leader. Sir Ross is also a dynamic speaker, broadcaster with outstanding skills in communication, presentation, training, and interpersonal relations. He works internationally with his projects encompassing many diverse cultural backgrounds. Throughout the years, Sir Ross has developed a growing desire to put an ongoing emphasis in bringing more soul into business. And he believes that the most effective leaders stay true to their authenticity by being so inspired, and it starts by being able to lead yourself. More so, more projects encompassing many diverse cultural backgrounds. Throughout the year, Ross has developed a growing desire to put an ongoing emphasis. I think I'm just repeating myself there. Okay, but before I let him on to start speaking to us, let me also show with you, if you can just check this slide, you will see his contact. Please contact him if you need more questions or more answers to your questions, more solutions to your problem, and you want to know more about what he does and his company. So let me also say this quickly. 2008, just few days before COVID. I hope you remember this.
I do.
I was given an opportunity to travel to Dubai for a leadership conference. Here I met Sir Ross Swan, very humble man, but a great leader in the society. So I was opportune to share the same platform with him, even though I was nervous because that was my first international public speaking. But I did the little I can do, and that was my best that time. After my speech, I was able to chat with him, and he imparted one thing in me that has helped me till today. He said, Elizabeth, continue the way you are delivering your speech, because you are speaking from your heart and you are being an authentic. Never forget that thing. It really inspires me. And I'm so glad after 3 years, I'm inviting the same man, the same leader to come and speak to our heart today. So I'll first of all let him have his slides. Okay, sir. So the stage is yours.
Right now, just getting my slides organized.
Okay, sir.
I'm IT challenged, just to anyone who's listening. It takes me a bit to get all this organized.
We are all learning, sir.
Yeah, we're always learning. Yes. So, okay. Look, thanks, Elizabeth. And yes, I do remember that well. 3 years ago now, 3 years and a couple of months. Yeah, remember it well. So look, thanks everyone for listening. And what I'm about to chat to you about today is, well, the subject matter and the topic is this transformative leadership. And the point I want to be talking about, transformative is just leadership. It's just evolving. It means you're transforming your life. Elizabeth already mentioned that just a minute ago. It's having a growth mindset. It's continually moving forward. So, and I'm going to talk a bit about that in the next 40 minutes or so. But it's about leading self. All good leaders, all great leaders lead themselves. If they can't lead themselves, they're not very good leaders of others. It always starts with yourself. It's no difference. If you want to love others, you got to love yourself first. If you can't love yourself first, you won't truly love other people. You think you do, but you don't. It all comes back to everything starts with you. So what we're going to be talking about, some key leadership behaviours, and these I do with executives. So the leadership behaviours when you're leading a team of people, but similarly, they have to do that themselves. They have to do this within themselves so they can lead themselves to lead other people. So we'll talk just a few. What leading yourself entails, but we'll touch on that. We could spend days on this, but we're talking 40 minutes, so that's 45 minutes or so. And how your strengths can become your weakness. So just a little idea. And that touches on some of the behaviours, but that's okay. It's just understanding it. Nothing wrong with it. Just you need to understand it. And how you create a positive impact on people and their development. And that starts with creating a positive impact on yourself. It's giving yourself the right message. It all, as I said, you'll be sick of hearing me say it. It all starts with yourself. You can't be negative towards yourself and then expect to be positive to other people. And it's funny, people over the years will think back if they mention your name, for example, someone mentions your name to someone else 2 years after they met you, they'll only ever remember you for how you made them feel. So it's your choice. Do you want them to make them feel good about you when your name is mentioned, or wince in pain and with a nervous twitch? That's it, and it's only up to you how you connect with people. So it's creating positive impact on people and their development. And if you're creating positive impact on people, that will help them in their development. It always does. And you plan to grow better yourself. And I've got one little activity I'll get you to be doing over these few minutes, and we'll just see. And there's something you should be looking at and you can continue to do throughout your life in a couple of different ways, but in essence, it can form how you lead your life. So we're talking about transforming the leader of today, yourself. You're all leaders of self. It's how do you transform yourself into tomorrow? So when we look at tomorrow and what it was, leadership over a period of time, nothing's really changed. Behaviours are just what's changing is people are getting a bit more sensitive to other behaviours. I see that happening a bit more. So I'm just glossing over that. So the key is it's connecting, and these are overriding little views. We're going to get into it in a minute. But it's connecting with people in an uplifting way. As I said to you, they'll only ever remember you for how you made them feel. Now, if you made them feel depressed, that's how they'll remember you. So they'll feel depressed whenever they hear your name. Now, if you want that to happen, then good luck to you. But deep down, I don't think you do. And I deal with a lot of managers. I don't call them leaders. I'll call them managers sometimes, because I'm asked by their employer to actually do some remedial coaching, because they can be quite hard to work for, to put it mildly. And at the end of the day, when you get them to reach into their inner self, into their soul, no one wants to be nasty from their soul. They only want to be nasty from their head. It's the head telling them they can be nasty here and be better than that person next door, or compete with that person next door, whatever they want to do. But in essence, when you break it down, no one wants to be nasty, and they all feel as though they want to have a positive impact on people. A lot don't, or some don't, and deep down, they don't try to even set out to have a negative impact. So keep that in mind. We move on. So I'll go to the next one, I think. So, right, what we've got here. Now, where am I? Just move this over. So, as I said, starts with leading yourself. And it's your choice. It's no one else's. To be a leader of yourself and to be who you are is your choice. Do you want to create a positive impact with your life in someone else's? And there again, it's a positive thing. If you're creating a positive impact on someone else, it reflects from you. So therefore, you're feeling positive. So if you want to feel positive and uplifting within yourself, that flows onto others. So it all goes hand in hand. It can't be one and the other's the opposite. But it's still a choice. It's still a choice, your choice. It's like a simple thing. I can't tell you, go off and be happy. You've got to tell yourself, I'm going to be happy. Whatever's happening in my life, I choose to be happy. Hell, I can't tell you to be that. I can only tell myself to be happy. So anyway, I digress, but that's in essence what we're talking about here today. So it's being connected with your inner self and it not just being continually in your headspace. It's funny, when we're born, we listen to our inner selves. We don't know that, but we are. And we do that till we're probably 7, 8, 9, 10 years of age. And as we get a bit older, we start, because we're being taught at school to think, to do exams, to learn information, think with your head, use your brain, son. Oh, I heard that a few times when I was a kid. But that's the trouble. We then convert everyone from using their inner self and how they feel more to how they think. And thinking, people don't like to think generally anyway, because it reminds them of exams and gives them a headache. But either way, we've got to stay out of our headspace a little bit. Yes, we've got to do that to analyze things, but we've got to move back into our inner self. And that's where we're happy. We're in our inner self, our inner peace. I'll move on. We can talk about it a bit more as we go. So there again, I've said this before and I'll say it to everyone I coach. Being a giver of positive energy, not a taker. But you want to give it, not sit there and take it on. Yes, you can go to a conference and you can listen to me for these 40 minutes and feel motivated. So you're taking on the motivation and to feel more positive. But then the key is then you keep it and then use it with everyone else. But Elizabeth said the right thing. You're on here listening to what Elizabeth has to say, to what I have to say, and what everyone else has to say on this platform. And you're doing it because you've got most likely have a growth mindset. That in itself is positive energy. So you've already got it. You just might want a bit of topping up. Sometimes we all just want a bit of topping up. The fuel in the tank in the car's half full. I've got to go a bit of a journey. I'll do a top up. That's all you're doing. That's fine. But there's fuel in the tank. There's energy in the tank. And in that, one of the things that gives you the energy in the tank is it's reflection. It's taking time out to be with yourself. And in essence, look, and in some respects, I want to have a way to say this. As you get older, and not saying young people don't do this, but as you get older, you tend to do this a bit more. You become a bit more reflective. Well, certainly I was. I'm far more reflective now than what I was when I was 20. They were short, sharp, quick reflections back then, but now they're a bit longer and more circumspect. But it's taking that time out to be with yourself. And there's going to be an activity I'm going to get you to think about later on, and then that can help you then by taking time out to do that and then quite often reflect on it. But being with yourself. Look, you can't be lonely in this life if your best friend's you, and that's who it should be. Because it all starts with you. If you're not a friend with yourself, in other words, you don't love yourself, you're very hard. It's just about, well, it is impossible to love anyone else and to be a really good friend of anyone else. You'll be a friend, but not deep friend. The deep connections start with the deep connection you have with yourself. So the real you comes from within. And I keep saying these same things over and over again, but it's just the most important things in your own life as you go through life, to lead yourself. Don't let others lead your life, lead it yourself. That's not to ignore other people and just say, I'm going to be I'm going to be selfish and this is my way I think and this to heck with anyone else. That's not your heart speaking, that's your head speaking. Your heart wants to connect with people. It wants to help people. That's what we do, heart to heart. That's the connection I'm talking about. Connecting with brain to brain ends up quite often in a debate. That's fun for a debate and it goes for an hour, but not how to live your life. You can't spend your whole life debating with everyone. It's connecting with people. Now, so the real you is within you. Your thinking, your brain provides the tactics, the where, what, and how. Coming from your gut, the real in your heart and your soul, because you want to do something. Oh, I want to travel to Scotland, for example. I just want to go there. Whatever nice memory you have of being there before, or the nice memories you want to have by when you get there by spending time fishing in a lake or a lock up there. I don't know, but that's fine. That's what tells you to go there. Your heart, then your brain tells you how the best way to get there, what to do necessarily when you get there a bit more, and just how the best where the best fishing is, etc. That's your tactics. But what really drives you is the want to go. It comes usually from the heart. Or you may want to go because someone told you that's a good place to fish. You're going because you love fishing. But someone else's brain told you the tactic is go to Loch Lomond or somewhere. That's where the fish are. That's the difference. That's the variance. But it's your heart that's the biggest driver. And so all the good leaders internalize and lead from within to lead out. The out part's just the tactics. From within, that's where they really lead from. That's the authenticity. That's their driver, because that's their purpose. It all comes from within. And not when it comes to your purpose, it will come to you one day. You may not even discover it fully till you're 40. But then again, if you're 23 and you're just starting a family, that's probably your purpose at that time. So you do have a purpose. Just don't look for the big grandiose, big daddy of a purpose when you're 25. You may have it. It may come, but don't beat yourself up if it doesn't come just then. It will come to you. It'll attract to you. Just watch the signals. But when leaders lead with purpose, they internalize and they lead from that to lead out. All the good leaders I've worked with, that's the main thing in common they have. And when they do that, they do all the other things. They connect with people with empathy. The list goes on. They communicate in the right way, all because they're leading from within. They always take a proactive stance, always looking for proactive. And that's no different to a growth, very similar to a growth mindset. Yes, we have to react to things. If the building's burning down, you got to react. The proactive one is, though, you've done some fire drills and you know the best way to get out. You see, that's the proactive stance. The reactive is, oh, the building's burning down. Now I put my proactive stance into play. But you're always looking for the proactive way. You're always looking for the growth in what you learn. You don't sit back and wait for the world to dictate your life. You get out and dictate your own life. Sure, you've got to bend with the breeze and go with the flow of the stream, but the stream is still going towards the ocean. That's the purpose. So just exactly the way the stream's going to go, you may not know, and don't worry about that. But you are going down the stream, not trying to swim back up it. So being a leader of self, stepping out and starts there again. These are just simple things. One of them is getting out of your comfort zone. As there again, getting into the growth mindset. If you want to have a fixed mindset, that's where you stay. You stay where everything is comfortable. You don't put yourself under pressure. Oh, I can always do this, so I'll do this again because I always do it. That's right. It's easy to do. I'll do that. Not challenging yourself. So stepping out. And you don't have to step out with a massive jump. You put your toe out there and just wriggle it and keep going forward. whatever best suits you. Some people like to jump the Grand Canyon when they get as getting out their comfort zone. Others like a little skip. That's it. That's fine, as long as you're going forward. And when you look at that, 80% is good enough. Not having to get it right the first time. I deal with a lot of people, and they sometimes procrastinate a lot of times. That's because they stick within their comfort zone, and they want everything to be perfect going forward. So they sit and wait and ponder. I've got to get this right. I've got to be perfect. Don't wait for things to be perfect. Just 80% is good enough. That's corporate speak, 80%. But generally, that's roughly it. If 80% is pretty good enough, get moving and work out the other 20% on your way. That's stepping out of the comfort zone. It's being a little uneasy every day. If you're being a little uneasy every day, you're making progress. You're making progress. And it's not a fact of saying, oh, I want to be uneasy. It's just being comfortable with it. You can't stop it. You can't stop that. You just don't want to take that to take over your life, but you're just comfortable with, just on the side, there's a bit of uneasiness there, a little bit of anxiety because I've stepped out of my comfort zone. A bit like what Elizabeth said a minute ago, when she presented in Dubai. She was just stepping out of the zone, right? She didn't wait till she become a perfect presenter. She may have never done that. But the only way to learn and grow from it is you go and do it. And truth-wise, she didn't have to change much at all. But the only way to find that out is to go and do it. So that's 80% is good enough. And it's that seizing that opportunity, as I said, it's part of it. Don't sit back and wait till everyone sees the opportunity. Oh, I won't go there. I'm the only one that sees this opportunity. Well, I won't go. Wait till everyone sees it. Well, it's not really an opportunity anymore. It's just the way everyone does things. Sometimes opportunities to do something in your life, you could be first to get there to do it. That's okay. You get back to the 80%. Get out of your comfort zone. And one other simple thing that I find when it's a bit of reflection that can happen at any time of your life, is it's what's positive, it's doing positive things when no one is there to watch you. It's a bit of a misspell on the slide by looks, but it's like doing something when no one's watching you. I don't mean go and rob a bank and hopefully no one's seeing you. It's doing the positive things because you're doing it for yourself. It's no other person's watching you, but you're watching yourself. That's key. I'm doing this for myself. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to wait till my wife comes home or my children come home or my teacher's watching me. So I do something good. So they go, oh, very good, Ross. Very good job. Really pleased. No, you're doing this for yourself. All good leaders do little things for themselves. They don't care about anyone watching. They're doing it for themselves and to fulfill their purpose. They don't wait for an audience. Now, a little activity, which we're going to start on, and it's just starting on it here. And I'm not going to do it now, but this is what you can do later on, right? If we're doing a longer presentation in a room and we can talk about it, what I want you to do is write down in bullet points on how you want to be remembered as a person. It's a simple thing. If I said, I'm talking to Elizabeth, if I said to Elizabeth, now, how do you want to be remembered, or how do you want people to talk about you? So if I met someone that knows you in 3 years or even tomorrow, doesn't matter when, what do you want them to be saying? What would you like them to be saying about you to me? In other words, how do you want to be remembered? Remembering, people only remember you for how you made them feel, not how you made them think. They only remember you how you made them feel. So you write that down, how you'd like to be described by other people to describe you when they're talking about you. You're not in the room. You're not there. You're nowhere near the place. And someone's telling someone else about you. What do you want them to be saying? And remember, as I said, they only ever say things how you made them feel. They might say, oh, Ross doesn't have much hair and what's left is grey. They may say that as a bit of a joke, but if it doesn't say much, they'll be saying how I've made them felt over the times we've connected. That's what they rely on. So that's what I want you to do. Have a think about it. Take some time. And it might take you weeks before you get it right. Don't write War and Peace, just a few bullet points. It's only what someone says to someone else in a few points. Think about that. You can also do it. That's as a person. You can do that with your partner. How do you, you do the same thing. How do you want your partner to describe you as a husband? How do you want your partner to describe you as a wife? Whatever. How do you want to be described as a parent? How do you want your children to be describing you as a father or a mother when they're 16? Remember, they'll only ever say how you make them feel. They may say, oh, they're good. They gave me the money to go to university. Full stop. I don't think you'll be happy with that, generally speaking. But, and no one would be, right? It's the key is how you make them feel. So these are the little things you can do in life. You write down, this is how I want my son or daughter to describe me when they're 16, for example. Right, that's so leave those thoughts, and these are the types of actions. We'll talk a bit about it as we go forward. Now, I'll go back one thing on this. At the end of the day, it doesn't happen by chance. Like if you want someone to describe you as a person who has a lot of empathy and is very warm and all this, you don't just keep living the life you're living and hope that that's how they're going to describe you. Maybe that's the life you've already been living, so it's not a problem, but you'll know that. The key is, what have I got to do every time, every day, every minute of the day, every day of the week, every week of the year, day in, day out? What have I got to do in order for someone, when I connect with those people, or to be a father, for example, what have I got to do day in and day out in order for my 15-year-old son to describe me the way I want to be described? What do I have to do? See, that's leading yourself. You're now starting to reflect and deciding how I'm going to live my life. How am I going to behave? I'm transforming my life because it evolves as I go forward. Because it doesn't just happen. People think of, oh, yeah, I'd like to be described that way. And I have this chat with executives, leaders of business, and they go, yeah, I'd like to be. So what do you do about it? Oh, I just do stuff. Like, it doesn't happen by chance. Then they get into exactly what they've got to do. They think they've got to do, behave in a way for their staff to describe them in a certain way, for example. And they go, oh, that's going to be harder. It's a bit of a challenge. I said, I know. But that's the only way they're going to be describing in that way. Now, they're all good leaders of self. Just get on with it. That's what I've got to do. That's what I do. That's the way I behave. That's the way I've got to behave. Most of them are probably already doing it because that's why they're good leaders. But you get back to how you want to be described as a person. What have I got to do for people? Do as a person every day in order for people to describe me the way I want to be described. That's the key. Behavior. It doesn't happen by chance. So in that, we're going to just talk about a couple of behaviors that there's several leadership behaviors. These are just how you lead yourself. Just a couple that I find cause the biggest problems with people and each other. And they're interpersonal paradox traits. When you remember I mentioned before about strength and weaknesses, that your strength can be a weakness. That's okay. But I'll explain what I mean. Let's look at communication, how you communicate with people, because that's all we do, communicate with people. It's an interpersonal skill. So what you'd like to do with people, and we'd all probably say, I'd like that, to build a cooperative relationship with others, be respectful of other people, self-esteem, yet be authentic in my communication. In other words, respect other people's feelings, but at the same time, say what needs to be said. And I explain that a bit more. So you've got a paradox, like we've got a seesaw. Up one end of the scale, up one end of the scale is frank, someone who's very blunt. Now, we all know people are very blunt because they believe you've got to just tell people as it is. They deserve the right to know. And they're not wrong. That's the tendency to be straightforward, direct, to the point, and forthright. It's a dynamic behavior from within. Then they get the people at the other end of the scale, the other end of the spectrum. They're the diplomatic people. The tendency to state things in a tactful manner, always trying not to upset people. They're trying to be tactful. And see, when you get either end of the scale, that's it, one end, it's just like a strength. And that's fine. But you don't put all the energy in being frank, or you don't put all the energy in being diplomatic. Because what happens is, when you're putting it all in being diplomatic, you quite often don't tell people what they need to know. You just don't tell them because you don't upset them. So when those people need your advice, you don't say anything. Or if they keep saying to you, keep pestering you, tell me please. In the end, the pressure, we all go through this, it's human behavior. Everyone has it, right? The pressure of the build-up when you're an extremely diplomatic person, for example, of trying to be diplomatic becomes so strong you can blow up and go, well, look, this is what it is. And then you become quite blunt at that person, bite their head off. Then you go back to being totally diplomatic, and people go, Paul, what happened to them? They go, well, what happened? Totally out of character. You all know people who do that. They suddenly go out of character under pressure. We all do it. It's a psychological behavior that we all have. It's just a question of how we can reduce that behavior. So I'm just talking about these things. So I'm trying to get you to be a bit more aware about how you do some of these, how you behave some of these ways, right? And I'm not telling someone to be, if they're per se very diplomatic, or at the other end, they're so blunt and direct, all they do is upset people 365 days of the year. And people don't want to go near them because, oh, they're going to upset them, they're going to yell at me or do something, tell me some information I don't want to hear, or whatever it is, right? That's up the other end. And I deal a lot with those people in management who keep telling staff and very blunt at it. Do this or else, blah, 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 or what the stupid job you've done there. See, that's not a good message. They needed to hear the message, but in a better way. So the key is what I'm saying here. If you find yourself being up one end of a behavior, and I'll cover a couple more for you just today, we've got a bit of time for that. It's just, the key is I don't stop the person from telling the desire to tell people as it is, but I just train them on telling it in a diplomatic way. That's all. You don't have to use blunt words. If they need to be told something, say it in a way that doesn't destroy their self-esteem. You just still say it, but in a diplomatic way. See, I coach people. If I upset all my clients, they don't want me to be a coach. They don't even employ me after one visit. They don't come back here, Ross. I'd be a failure. I'd have no clients. So I upset them so much, they don't want to take it. But if I don't tell them anything, I'm useless. I don't provide any value as well. They sack me as well because I'm not giving them any value. So I've got to tell them what they need to hear, but in a way that builds their self-esteem, not reduces it. So you're pulling people up, not pulling them down. You're pumping a tire up. You're pumping their tire up, not letting out the tire. So you don't have to let out the tire just because you're giving them news they need to hear. It just takes a bit of practice, a bit of will and desire, and you'll be right. That's what I'm a coach for, I suppose, and I help people through that. So you need to be saying, so a balanced communicator, you can't get it 50-50, but you just need to be balanced in the way you do it, right? Is that, yes, I've got to say what needs to be said, but I've just got to say it in a way that's constructive and respectful. That's all. Because at the end of the day, I'll go back there. At the end of the day, if you say something that's totally blunt, people don't listen to you. And if they're physically in the room, they're not listening to what you're saying. So whatever you're saying, and believe it, they need to hear that message. They're not getting it. Physically, they're getting it, but emotionally, they're not. They've blocked it out. They just switch off. So the key is to deliver that honest message, but in a way that supports you, puts the person, not deflates them. That's forthright diplomacy. That's all you got to have. Just bring the two the opposites and do them both together. So it becomes a 50-50, not 100% of the time I'm a blunt and a pain in the backside, or 100% I'm so diplomatic I don't say anything. Now, when you're doing that as a communicator, I throw this in as well. Most times when you're listening to someone, you're listening to respond. In other words, as they're talking, you're thinking, what am I going to say next? It's subconscious quite often, can be conscious. In a debate, it can be conscious, but in a subconsciously, we do it. The key is just listen to the person. Don't worry about what you say next. Listen to what they're saying. Listen to the words. And so sometimes it's what they don't say is the message. Now, be clear on that. It's sometimes what people aren't telling you is the message, or it's the way they express the words is the message. So if you're not listening to it properly, you're not getting the real message. So you try to practice these things because you're trying to improve your communication. Yes, I want to do things in a way that uplifts people, but I need to tell them what they need to hear. But at the moment I'm listening, right? And so to listen, to practice that I'm really listening, then when they finish saying something, repeat it back in a way, paraphrase it. So what you're telling me, Elizabeth, is this and this. That what you're saying to me? Yes, it is, Ross. Ah, good. I understand. See, that's how, and it does a lot of things in your life. Remember I said, people only describe you how you make them feel. The mere fact that you're listening to someone and they understand and they know that you're listening because you've just confirmed it with a paraphrase, they feel good about that. It makes them feel important. We all like to feel important. So there's a behavior that helps. One description. So I'm sure you've all got communication in there somewhere in some form and how you want to be described. So just little tricks that just help you be the best person, create the best positive impact when you're communicating with people, which we're doing all day. Now, interpersonal trait, another one is about opinions. To be certain, the tendency to feel confident about your own opinions, or being up the other end of the spectrum is being open and reflective. Now, why I'm saying this one, because this becomes, if you're so certain about everything around you, right up one end of the scale, then that's what's lobbing you into a fixed mindset. Because why do I have to look at anything else? My view of this is perfect. I believe that is right. And everyone else is obviously wrong. Whoever follows the other path's wrong. Maybe they are. But if you stick so fixed up one end of the certainty of the opinion, then you run the risk of having a fixed mindset. Correct. And you go up the other end. If you're so open, reflective, that the tendency to view every different viewpoint because you want to grow. And the trouble is, if you're so open and don't have anything fixed, you'll never have any opinion about anything. You'll just float through. You'll never have an opinion. So you'll never take a position on anything. So you won't go anywhere because you don't have a fixed opinion that's going to drive you a bit. Or opinion. Right at this moment, that's what I believe, so that's going to drive me. See, so you can't have that either. It's about a mixture. It's like, yes, I'm pretty strong with my opinions. I think they come from good viewpoints, but I know if I keep my eyes and ears open, I can improve on that. See, that's all I'm asking you to do. So you've got to ask yourself in reflecting here, are my opinions too easily changed, or they don't change at all? So the key is to just explore different viewpoints and formulate conclusions without being fixed in your opinion. But you have an opinion. The key is you just take a minute. What do I got here? I've just got to see my slide. You take a minute, consider where you are. Are you a fixed mindset or a growth mindset when you're just looking at and reviewing? What do? Do you tend to be stuck on fixed opinions? Or do you tend to be totally liquid? You don't have any opinions because you always know that you can get better and you don't fix on anything. Make a stand. You've got to make stands at times. But the key is you've got to understand that, yes, I'm confident in this about this issue or about myself, whatever. But I know I can always get better. I know I can always learn something more. That's why you're here listening to me at the moment. You have a belief that I can always learn something more, which is good. So that's there again, just touching on that growth mindset, which is what the opinions are. You tend to see your levels of intelligence. Where is it? I've got here. Skill, talent, success has the capacity to grow, and that's always got to grow. You believe that there are numerous stepping stones to improvement. Heck, I look at, I'm getting a bit long in the tooth, as you can see by my grey hair, or the lack of it, as I keep saying. But I can always believe I can grow and learn something every day. I don't have all the answers. I'm always looking to learn something every day. To me, that's important, and it gives you energy and enjoyment in life. If you think I've learned everything that needs to know about life, man, what a boring rest of your life you're going to have. You got nothing to learn. How boring is that? The fact you got the enthusiasm to have the growth mindset, because you're always looking to something better way to do this stuff. That gives you enthusiasm, gives you positive energy. That's fun. And one other thing, when it comes to your employment, I work with a lot of big companies and small companies as well, but there's a lot of companies now that they look at whether you've got a growth or a fixed mindset, and they'll promote people who are showing skills of a growth mindset. If they see growth mindsets fixed, they're the people who don't grow in their career, because at the moment the world changes too quickly to be fixed for too long. Like if you're running a 100-meter race at the Olympics, you only got to stop for half a second. The world's gone and finished. You're still halfway through. That's fine, right? But that's how the world's going at the moment. Even a few years ago, even if you're running a marathon or an ultra marathon, you stop for 5 minutes. It's only 5 minutes. Man, there's people running past you and leaving you in the distance. You've got to keep going. That's the growth mindset. It's keep growing. Otherwise, you're going to be stopping and sitting on the pavement in an ultra marathon. Damn hard to get up and start again and catch up with the crowd, or pass the crowd if you want to win. I'll go one more paradox trait. It's very similar, because it all sits around the growth mindset. It's decision making. And it comes back to that trust lead from within as well. It's a bit of a combo. So decision making. So you get people who make decisions very logically. Their logical mind at work. Or do in other words, do you examine the facts, look at the data? Yep. Then you make a very controlled decision. Or do you, up the other end, I just follow my gut. If my gut's telling me that's the way I got to go, and that's it. Now, good leaders of self do both. They follow their gut, but they use the analytical ability they have on the data and the facts and the figures just to guide that gut to the spot they want to go. That's the gut's telling you I love fishing, and I want to go to Scotland and fish and have a holiday there. But the data is going to tell them which lock they're going to go to, how they're going to get there. That's the difference. Is you use both. All the good leaders use their gut. Otherwise, if they wait for the data to tell them where to go, it's too late because they're reading someone else. Data is past tense. It's history. It's a historical view of what's happened before. So if it's already happened and you want to get the data to tell you, should I step into this market, there's already too many people there because you're waiting for the data of all those people to tell you that's the way I got to go. It's too late. See, that's why the good leaders use their gut. And it's no different in life. If you want to do something for yourself, don't wait for other people to tell you. And you don't want to listen to them anyway, because it's not their purpose. It's your purpose, not theirs. You do it yourself. It's your gut, your purpose. You do it. Yes, you might use them for some analytical data, but not whether you do it or not. It's like someone saying, well, don't go to Scotland fishing. I don't like fishing, so why should you like fishing? Well, how stupid's that? I like fishing. I'm going. I'm not going because you say don't go there, because you don't. And in the essence, what's driving that is because you don't like fishing. See, purpose clash. Why do I listen to that idiot? Right? Why am I listening to that person? You listen to your gut for purpose and you make decisions on that because that's where you're headed. Just use the information of others as data. So you take it under consideration, but it doesn't drive your purpose. Good leaders, it doesn't drive some of their brave actions of taking a risk, getting out of the comfort zone. It just may be guiding them a little bit, that's all. So these are sort of things you'd ask yourself. I'll go back to what have I done? Going back. So am I mindful of how I make my bigger decision? This is when you reflect. Do I overanalyze things? Just come through this. Or do I use my gut and I don't think about anything else and just blunder on? And there again, you can fall over the Grand Canyon because you want to jump it. But you don't lose the data, say that the bottom of the Grand Canyon is quite a big fall. If you don't get it right, then maybe you should have looked at some of the data. See, you've got to look at a bit of data somewhere. That's what keeps you alive sometimes. But there again, if you want the journey to be going the journey you want to go on, that comes from the gut. And it's no different to someone who's invented, and I deal with a lot of startups and new tech startups, particularly a lot of here in Singapore. And you get that bright young people with some ideas. Yes, that's all logical sort of information to drive that. The idea is going to drive it, but it comes back to what started them in the first place. What is, at the end of the day, when they think about it, it's not what they've built, but what started them to have the desire to build what they've done is that desire to help someone, to help someone in the marketplace that has a need. If you're supplying cartons of milk for people, it's helping people to drink milk. Like that comes from within you. That's a desire. I want to help people drink more milk, whatever it is, right? Now I'm going to use my head to build, based on other data, to build the best milk dispersing machine in the world, whatever it is, right? See, that's fine, but that's not the bit. That what drives you is the beginning, is what I'm getting at. It's the purpose that starts you to get off out of your bed every morning and start doing something. Then your actions then become more thinking actions. That's okay. I hope that makes sense to you. So when you get back to these behaviors, it's all about balance. I'm getting back to it, right? It's now, what have I got here? Being balanced And there again, as I mentioned before, that when you're up one end too much and you don't balance yet that behavior, it under pressure, you flip to the opposite. I know you've got a saying, and they have it in Australia where I come from. I know they have it in Britain as well, is that sometimes they'll say your bark is worse than their bite. You've heard people say that? It's an old English saying, English speaking saying. That person's bark's worse than their bite. That's what this is. It means they bark, they're very blunt, blah, 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 blah. And when you put them under pressure, they come meek and mild. They don't bite at all. Right? Because when put under pressure to give a real opinion sometimes, and this is what happens. And I do this with executives. I've had executives who are having problems because they're upsetting too many people. So they go to a meeting and then they become meek and mild because they sit on their hands so they don't express themselves and they don't say anything because they know if they say it, they'll only upset everyone. See, their bark's now it's putting them under pressure. So sometimes they don't even go to the meetings. I upset people. I'm getting into trouble. I can't do this. So that's the point I'm going. Because they're not balanced, it causes them to be the opposite. Or if someone's saying something in the meeting and they have to say something, say, no, you're okay. Yeah. They don't say what they normally say. Or sometimes people say, geez, their bark is a lot worse than their bite is a lot worse than their bark. In other words, that's the opposite. So they don't bark much, but man, can they bite when they want to. In other words, they'll bite your head off. They say very little to you. Then you've got them under so much pressure to say something. Man, are they blunt. See, because they haven't practiced how to say it properly. They're up one end and they're under pressure, so they just explode it out. Now, you'll see things in all people's lives that you know, and there are others. I could have gone through many other behaviors that people explode. Suddenly you're very nice and suddenly explode. Someone who's the martyr that's always help, I'll help you, I'll help you there, I'll help you here. And then suddenly one day they go, no, I'm not helping you. That's because they're under pressure, because they help you so many times and they under pressure because they can't help you this day, then they just bite your head off, so I can't help you. There's several behaviors that you've got to do. But anyway, you can search them out, but it comes under what they call a Harrison performance. So if you Harrison balanced behavior traits, if you Google that, you'd get to somewhere where you'll get to Harrison behavioral traits. It's by Dr. Harrison. So it's all his study and work that I'm quoting. So the point I'm trying to get here is that the key is just about balance. It's trying to balance you. So when you're blurting out or whether you're too meek and mild, just build yourself up. That's the key. It's building yourself up to be balanced. And I can tell you now, people like people being balanced. We don't like people who are unbalanced. And it's like, I guess another saying is, oh, we got to watch out for so-and-so today. You got to walk on eggshells here today. You got to work, because they're all a bit grumpy. It's like we don't like it. One day they're grumpy, and the next day they're patting you on the back saying, "Job well done, Ross." See, that means they're very unbalanced in their behaviour. Depending on what's driving them, they flip from one end of that behavioural trait to the other in their communication. The key is being a little bit more circumspect in how you do it. So, in essence, in finishing up, all I want to say next, just go back to that description and look at yourself and then redo it, whatever you want to do. How do I want people to describe me? Then you've got to look at that and say, what behaviors have I got to do? What have I got to do every day when I connect with this person in order for them to describe me this way? If I want people to describe me as an empathetic person who understands and listens to me, what have I got to do? Well, you've got to understand, you've got to listen, you've got to, all these things. These are the things you've got to do. That's how you look at your life. How do I want to be described as a husband? What have I got to do as a husband in order to be described the way I want to be described? And any other thing that you want to make out and how you want to be considered. that's the last thing we're going to leave with you. And to everyone, be a good leader of self. Just takes a little bit of discipline and just strength from your heart and a belief in yourself that you can be the best person you can be. And the person you want to be described as being, you can do that. That's how you want to be described. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. We really, really, really have learned a lot under your leadership, under your mentorship you've trained us today. And I really, really appreciate you, sir, for your time to have spent with us this morning or this afternoon, this evening, wherever all our audience are calling from. I want to say thank you, sir, for your time. And I'm
My pleasure,
looking
Elizabeth.
forward to you yesterday. The most important thing that I've learned a lot, but because of time, I won't be able to recap. But one thing that you started with, which is very important as a leader, is to be who we are. And being who we are is a choice.
Yes.
And how we treat people is also very important. So if you know who you are and you appreciate who you are, then you will be able to influence others that are under you, or you are managing, or you are leading. So that is very important. I also like the fact that you say something, because sometimes we learn different things, how we can top up the fuel in the tank, which is very important. We have to top it up, because at a certain point, when you're driving, your petrol might be low or finished. So if you don't top it up, you are stuck and you're standstill.
Right.
But you have to keep topping it up. And I think it's also describe the growing mindset. So we can't stand still and have a fixed mindset and want to change or transform our lives. But when you top it up with exactly what we are doing here today, listening and learning. So while we are learning, we are topping it up. And like I always say, learning is living, it's for life, and it's a lifestyle. So while you are topping up your tank, filling up your tank, you are learning and you are filling up your mindset. And it is also very important that we know how we correct or how we speak to others, because the way you speak to others or you are correcting them matters. That will determine how they will respond to the message you are putting across them. So that's is also very
That's very true. Very true.
So thank you so much, sir. We really
My pleasure.
appreciate you. This is Honorable Sir Ross Swan from Singapore. Did I hear you say you're originally from Australia?
I'm
Did I hear
Australian,
that?
yeah. Yeah, I'm Australian.
But you are based in Singapore. Which
Yeah,
one
based in
day
Singapore
I
at
will
the
come
moment.
and visit you over there.
Feel free, Elizabeth. Feel free.
So for the past 1 hour, we've been listening to our great leader in the world, in the society, Sir Ross Swan, teaching us about this wonderful from his wisdom. And I want to believe all our audience, because I'm checking, I'm seeing people are joining and they are making some comments. I was waiting for them to ask questions, but they are just enjoying your teaching. So I hope they understand what you've done. You've taught us
It's pretty
this
rushed.
morning. Because they are just excited. They're telling us they're from Malaysia, they are from India, they're from Nigeria,
Good.
they are from Essex here, they are from Georgia, they are from Croatia. So I just want to believe that they've learned few things from your wisdom and knowledge this afternoon, this morning, in this evening. I also have one of my mentor, my teacher, and also one of our Yes You Can International patron joining us just about a few minutes ago, because sometimes I allow them to join us so that they will exactly know what I am doing. They are my leaders. So I have
Keep an eye on you. That's it.
Bishop Pastor Nelson from Australia and also originated from Pakistan. So thank you for joining us, sir. We really appreciate you. I also have Sir King Clive Rivers is also one of our grand patrons. So I'm privileged to have him with us, and also is going to share for the next 45 to 50 minutes. So feel free, sir, to still be with us because I know you are very busy. I'm talking to you, sir, Sir Royce. I know you are very busy. If you can also feel free to relax with us for the next 1 hour while we learn from our leader, Sir Clyde Rivers. And if you have any other things that you want to do, sir, we cannot hold you. So because I know you are coming back tomorrow. So anytime you are free, sir, you can leave us if you have something else to do. But if you stay with us till we finish, we also appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much. Okay, let me do something quickly.